it horror, both Steelers fans and one Nick Wright. 2 plays later, Big Ben throwing a pick, and the Patriots walk away winners 27-24. Nick, I live about 75 blocks from you, and I could hear your frustrated exasperation after this. What was your reaction to the overturned touchdown?
My reaction is this is a league predicated on passing and catching, and to the average fan, there's no idea what's a catch. And that can't be good for the sport. I know what's a catch in high school football. I know what's a catch in college football. And I have been trained by the NFL to recognize on replay, oh, against all logic, this might not be a catch. But it should be. Just like Calvin's should have been a touchdown. Dez's should have been a touchdown. Last week, Adam Thielen's at the end of the first half should have been a touchdown. This should have been a touchdown. And I know that by the letter of the law, they got it right. But to me, and I say that with all due respect to my friend who helped make the law for the league, the law then needs to change. If you are, until replay came about, the entirety of NFL history, this is obviously a touchdown. To the players on the field, they thought it was a touchdown. The guys calling the game were watching replays of it for 2 minutes, thinking they were looking if he broke the plane before they realized, oh, the ball at the very end, the ground dislodged it slightly, even though his right hand's still on it. Maybe that's what they're looking at. The refs clearly had some trouble with it because it was a long review process. So you cannot convince me the unknown about what is a catch and what isn't a catch, and the added factor of here's a catch in all circumstances unless a player is going to the ground is good for the league. So I hated it. I didn't just hate it because I picked the Steelers. Remove that from it. It's just I picked the Panthers the previous week, and I didn't like that Thielen got his touchdown taken away. I don't like this part of football.
Yeah, it's hard to have a conversation that, regardless of the amount of information you present, that people think that the rules should be changed. Let's look at it this way. Let's say Jesse James was horizontal coming across the goal line. The ball was flighted, a couple feet off the ground. He dove out like this and caught the ball. Forget about this part. Just imagine that the ball was here and he caught the ball and went down to the ground. Would that be a catch?
No.
So what's the problem with it? Because that's exactly what happened. You're only confused because his feet are on the ground. Just imagine his feet are off the ground, Nick.
Yeah, that's different.
What's the difference?
The difference is this guy catches the ball, and I know you're going to say he never caught it.
Well, don't tell me what I'm going to say.
Well, by my definition of it, he catches the ball. His knee.
That's not a catch, first of all. Okay.
Like I said,
the ball hit his hands.
Say that.
Well, that's not a catch.
Okay.
When the ball hits your hands, that's not a catch. Would you agree with that?
When the ball hits your hand, sure. When you then have the ball, I can't even.
The ball hit your hands.
The ball hit your hands.
That's all it did.
Okay. He also had enough control to move the football, to reach with the football. To me, that is possessing the football. If you possess the football, your knee is on the ground. You reach it across the goal line. The play should be over there. This going to the ground stuff that we never heard about in football until Calvin Johnson does not need to be a part of it. It flatly doesn't.
Let's just make the game easier for you as a fan and for the players. That's what you want, right?
Good.
But that's why it's pro football. And that's why the requirements in this game, the ball is different. The rules are different. The requirements for players to play at the NFL, just like the defensive players. We talk about it. The targeting rule. Man, it's really, really hard. But you know what the defensive players are doing? They're adjusting.
But that's a safety issue.
I'm talking.
Okay.
All right? Thielen, last week, that was not a touchdown. Calvin Johnson was closer to a touchdown because Calvin was actually getting up off the ground. Dez Bryant was not a touchdown. Why? Because falling is not something that's common to football or a football move. So you said if Jesse James was horizontal with the goal line and caught the ball the ball hit his hands and then he went down, it wouldn't be. So I don't know why you have a hard time when his feet are on the ground, because going to the ground is the game changer, Nick. Catching the ball, standing up, and going to the ground, there's 2 sets of rules. And you just won't accept that going to the ground, the rules are different.
Cece, you're mentioning these ways that because it's pro football, there are these different rules than college football. I get it. I get why in pro football you need 2 feet instead of 1 foot. Most of the different rules, I think targeting is separate. That is a safety issue. The ways defenders have had to adjust, they did that because of safety, not because they wanted to make the game harder for defensive players. Ultimately, this is pro football is an entertainment industry. And it is not good for the fans or for the product that people are confused about what a catch is.
There's not going to be all parts that you're going to like. But if you look at, just like you said, but you just won't accept it. If I look at this by the letter of the law, Chris, this is not a catch. Well, allow your brain to look at it, because there's rules everywhere. Just because you don't like them, you still have to abide by them. And the players have to adjust. Don't go to the ground, Nick. He didn't have to go to the ground.
Here's my question for you, though, CC. I agree the players have to adjust, unless the rules are changed. These rules are not written in stone. It's not the 10 Commandments. Why
come up with a better example, Nick? What should the rule be?
The same thing your guy,
just like
I'll tell you exactly what it should be, what Larry Fitzgerald suggested it be. As soon as you have the ball in your hands with control of it and have 2 feet.
Last year, when we had the committee, the catch committee, we invited most of the current players too. Larry Fitzgerald didn't want to come. All right, OBJ didn't want to come. So the people in the room, which included a couple players, Jordy Nelson was one of them, we came up with what the rule was going to be. And this is the rule, just like any other rule. All right, jumping over the center, trying to block the kick. That's a rule now. The players have adjusted, right? You can't land on a guy. It's a personal foul. They're just like any other rule, Nick. All right, read the rules, read them by the letter of the rule, and you should be able to enjoy the game. All right? You're not going to be able to change the rules. And just because the rules aren't your way doesn't make the game more enjoyable. All right? There should be more of an essence put on the professional receiver to catch the ball and make it tougher than any other level that they've played at.
One of the other rules in this game was whoever has more points when the game is over is deemed the winner. Yes. And the Patriots were deemed the winner in this one. So I just want to shift gears ever so slightly and talk about the New England Patriots now and move forward a hair. Looking at this team yesterday, I know you didn't think they were the better team on the field. They did walk away the winner. Do we now assume that this is the best team in football, that this is the team that we could see representing the AFC?
Oh, they definitely could be the team that represents the AFC, and they now have the super inside track to the 1 seed. Had they lost this game, they'd be eliminated from the 1 seed, and they would be right now, this morning, the 3 seed because of what Jacksonville did. So because they won the game, they have a great shot at it. But at no point watching yesterday did I think they were better than Pittsburgh. I thought Pittsburgh soundly outplayed them for 90% of that football game. Now, what the Patriots have shown you, what Tom Brady's shown you is 90% don't really do much for you. 95% might not do much for you. You're going to need to do the full 60 minutes. And Brady, after being what I would call his 3rd straight shaky game until that final drive to Gronk. Going into that final drive to Gronk, this would have been his 3rd straight game with a sub-85 passer rating. He'd only done that once once all year prior to that. The Steelers' game plan had worked despite losing Antonio Brown. They give up Gronk just cuts them up the field. He then cuts them up on the 2-point conversion, and then they blow it at the very end when they could have easily at least just forced overtime. I didn't think New England is the better team than Pittsburgh, but ultimately, since they won and they have the inside track to the 1 seed, that part might not matter.
I didn't learn anything. I knew Pittsburgh before the game started was a better team. I knew they had better personnel. Top to bottom, I would take their roster over New England's roster. But I'm not taking the quarterback. I'm not taking Ben Roethlisberger. You know the reason why? Listen to the press conference. Oh, Todd Haley, he told me I wanted to do something else, but he told Tom Brady wouldn't even would have said that. You know, they would have moved on. That commentary was not even needed. From a guy that's been to 3 Super Bowls, that was not needed.
What did that tell you about Ben Roethlisberger?
Well, I know a lot more about Ben than other people, but don't make excuses. You're driving the car, throw the ball away. He had plenty of time to be able to do that. So, no, I'm not surprised by the talent. I'm not surprised that New England would make some type of play at the end to be able to win the game. That's how they've won their 5 Super Bowls. None of their Super Bowls have been blowouts, and most of the time the team that they played in the Super Bowl was better than them. So I've seen this happen so many times. They don't make excuses. They just make more plays at the end of the game, and that's